Live from America's heartland, this is the Daily Truth Report with your host, Noah Christopher.
Welcome to the Daily Truth Report. I'm your host, Noah, and today we bring on a new guest. I'm very happy to introduce to you Chris Burres from C60 Evo. We're going to talk about your health today. We're going to talk about your immune system. We're going to talk about antioxidants. We're going to talk about your natural immunity. And so I thought nobody better to bring on than Chris. So Chris, welcome to the show.
Noah, thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to kind of share some history and some very interesting scientific discoveries with you and your audience.
Fantastic. So obviously, everything in the news right now is all about the virus. It's all about the vaccine and a lot of stuff. And I don't care where you come down on any of those sides. What I want to talk about today is your natural immune system and maybe some things that everybody can do to boost that immunity. I want to say right at the beginning, I'm not a doctor. I run a website and a video interview show here. So I am not a doctor, and we're not giving you medical advice, but we are talking about just some good vitamins, supplements, things that you can do naturally, things that for centuries everyone has said, hey, this is pretty good to get your body some antioxidants and some vitamins and so forth. So that's my disclaimer off the bat. Chris, do you agree with that? We're not giving medical advice. Everyone has their own medical history. You talk to your own doctor, but we're just going to tell you what we know.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%. I know I'm in a lab coat. I am a lab techie guy. I am not a doctor. And so, yeah, this is not advice. I'll be sharing kind of research. We'll probably get into some testimonials, and we'll talk about that and give a disclaimer before we even talk about those, because what happens to other people may not happen to you. And yeah, like consult your physician if you've got concerns.
Perfect. Well, Chris, what your company sells, and it's on the screen behind you, but you sell a product called C60. And a couple of years ago, I started hearing about C60 from a lot of people online that I was listening to and following, and they kept talking about C60. And I finally started searching out and looking where I could buy it. And I came across your company, and I started taking it for about a year. Before I contacted you, and then I said, hey, this stuff is great. I'm enjoying it. I'd like to introduce it to some more people, and that's how you and I came together. But for the people that have never even heard of this, C60, that sounds kind of technical and kind of scientific. What even is this? What is C60?
Yeah, well, yeah, let me break it down. And just for clarity, before I even start, we really like to make a distinction between C60 and ESS60. The name of the company is C60 Evo, which stands for the evolution of C60 into ESS60. So C60 is for industrial applications, and there's peer-reviewed published research that shows when it's improperly processed, it's harmful. ESS60 is C60 that's been processed for safer human consumption. So let's kind of roll back. Like, what is C60? In 1985, three professors here at Rice University discovered the third form of carbon. I'm actually holding up a model of the most abundant of their discoveries, the carbon 60. And if you're listening, if you imagine a soccer ball, the lines on the soccer ball represent the bonds between the carbon atoms. So you have a spherical molecule of 60 carbon atoms, and that is the carbon 60. It's the first closed cage molecule, and that means there's no ends just hanging out there. Everything that's involved with a molecule is actually closed around itself. That gives it some pretty amazing properties. Some people have called it the perfect carbon. And the reason they call it that is it's superconducting. It's harder than a diamond. It'll actually turn into a diamond. It's got six-fold symmetry. So there's 6 planes through this molecule that it's symmetrical. And what that means is it's incredibly resilient. So you can fire this molecule at a plate of steel at 15,000 miles an hour. Most molecules will just shred apart. This one will actually compress and bounce right back and continue to hold its shape. So it's a pretty amazing molecule. And again, they discovered that in 1985. Those 3 professors who discovered it went on to win the Nobel Prize for that discovery in 1996. And that's what kind of slowly kicked off everything. The reason we're here talking about it as a supplement, for various reasons, they assumed that it would be toxic. And in 2012, they published the results of a toxicity, a quote unquote toxicity study that they had done. And instead of being toxic, the test subjects, in this case, Wistar rats, that were given the ESS60 in olive oil formula lived 90% longer than the control group, right? And that's what really kicks it off and why we're talking today, because 90% extension of life is the single longest longevity result in human history. And it's, of course, peer-reviewed published research. And so that kind of launched us into this supplement area. And I don't know if we can keep talking in this direction, or if you want to steer the conversation a different way, it's up to you, Noah.
No, that's great. Thank you. This is for my curiosity as much as it is for everybody else, because I think a lot of people have not heard about C60 or the perfect carbon molecule. And we're not going to make this a political talk, but I will say this, there's a lot of talk about carbon out there and carbon emissions and carbon credits. And I have found that anytime the government is trying to tell you that something's bad, it actually might be good for you. And so I think it's just so funny that carbon seems to be the enemy right now. And it has been. They've been trying to make it the enemy for the past decade. And it turns out this stuff might be really good for you.
Yeah, I mean, in reality, we're carbon beings, right? So I think that conversation, they tend to just say carbon emissions, right? And really they mean like carbon dioxide emissions, and carbon on its own. No one, I don't think any politician, whatever side of the aisle, is out there going, diamonds are bad, or the graphite we use in pencils, which is pure carbon, is bad. But it does, like, for some people who don't kind of know the science behind, they hear carbon is bad, and so then we're talking about the perfect carbon, and their mind might immediately go to, well, that's been very well defined as being bad. No, this is actually very different than the carbon that we're talking about when people are talking about global warming and its impact there. We're talking about this spherical molecule, again, of 60 carbon atoms that looks like a soccer ball and has been called the perfect molecule, or the perfect carbon, which is a phrase I love. And again, associated with a peer-reviewed published research, not associated, like published in a peer-reviewed published research that it extended the life of test subjects by 90%. And a lot of people were like, as soon as they hear, hey, in this study, really the C60 Evo formula extended their life by 90%. Why might it have caused them to extend the life by 90%? And you can look at the current thought process of the medical community. And that thought process is that aging is impacted by inflammation and oxidation. So when you look at the product, when you look at C60 Evo's olive oil formula, really all of the formulas, but most importantly, the olive oil formula, it's been associated with a study where it's shown to be 172 times more powerful than vitamin C, so great antioxidant. When you start talking about inflammation, you do have to be really careful, and this is appropriate. The FDA has kind of identified inflammation as associated with diseases. What we can say is that our product helps with inflammation as it relates to exercise, right? So we all have gone for a long walk or actually hit a really heavy gym routine or running routine and been sore the next day, been inflamed. Absolutely, our product helps with that, and we can say that. What we can't say, whether it's true or not, what we can't say is that it impacts other types of inflammation. The better way to think of it is this product, the C60 Evo olive oil product, and really our MCT and avocado product, all fit in an anti-inflammatory diet. Those diets are associated with the blue zone. Those blue zone people have less incidences of stroke, less incidences of heart attacks, and actually live longer. So that's kind of maybe a little the top level science behind why those Wistar rats may have lived 90% longer.
Oh, that's fantastic. So this is fairly new. You're saying it was discovered in the 80s and 90s.
Yep.
Right. So it's fairly new. So if you haven't heard about it, that's one reason right there. And then what you're telling me, the benefits are antioxidant. We've all heard that term. We've seen that in face creams and supplements and everything else. Anti-inflammatory, also very good. You don't want your body in an inflammatory state. Antibacterial, antiviral, and antioxidant. Talk a little bit more about all of those properties
Yeah.
What does that do for your body and your immune system?
Let's first start on probably the most impactful one. And by the way, the exact mechanisms, there are research scientists much smarter than me who are going to figure out the exact way that it's interacting with the individual components. And we're talking at the cellular level. What we do know is that the ESS60 molecule can get into the mitochondria and participate in those processes. So I'm going to get a little geeky here. The mitochondria is a component of every cell in our body, and it's the powerhouse of that cell. So it's the thing that kind of takes the food we eat and converts it into the energy that that cell can use to do whatever that cell needs to do. If it's a liver cell, kidney cell, hair cell, whatever it needs to do, it needs that mitochondria to give it the energy that it needs to do what it's supposed to do. And so we know that the ESS60 molecule can get in there. We also know that the ESS60 molecule is a great antioxidant. And what that means is normally when the mitochondria is going through its energy producing processes, just like a car, like a traditional car, it's driving down the road and it's kind of spewing out gases out the backside. Those gases aren't necessarily good. It'd be nice to, and we have things like a catalytic converter that significantly improve the emissions of the car. Well, as your mitochondria is going through these energy producing processes, it's producing byproducts that are not necessarily good for the body. And those are often called reactive oxygen species, are one of those. And those are the oxidants that antioxidants typically take care of. So if you were to have a room full of mitochondrial medical experts and you were to say, hey, would it be good to have a reactive oxygen species, a great antioxidant, in the mitochondria while it's going through its energy producing the ATP process, all of them would raise their hands and say yes, right? So this is a good thing. So we know that this ESS60 molecule can get in there and participate in that ATP process. So that's really the antioxidant. I'm going to jump ahead to the antiviral because that's actually pretty important. Obviously, we've got a lot of things going on related to viruses right now, and we're not saying that it has any impact on that. In fact, there's no research that I'm aware of associated with it. What we do know, there are actually patents related to the ESS60 molecule interfering with the AIDS virus, the replication of the AIDS virus, right? So we do know it's antiviral. We do know it's an antibacterial. We do know that, again, what we're allowed to say is that it helps with inflammation as it relates to exercise. And then, of course, a great antioxidant.
Wow, fantastic. What about, I've seen some stuff and actually experienced it myself from taking this about really getting, if you take this on a regular basis, getting more deeper sleep, better sleep, waking up feeling more refreshed. Talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, that's our most consistent testimonial. We're going to get into some testimonials here. I want to say first, the FDA has not evaluated our product. It is not intended to treat, diagnose, cure, or prevent any disease. That's an important thing to share with your audience. And next, any testimonial that I share will only be one where I've either had direct contact with an individual, right? So if my business partner tells me somebody else said something that I would never share, I always want to have traceability, right? So you're in journalism, you know, you've got to have kind of that pathway to the original source just to have to do things the right way. And so our most consistent testimonial is people take our product in the morning, they report mental focus and energy during the day, and then better sleep that night. And there's a couple things to point out about that most consistent testimonial. One is I'm unaware of any supplement on the market that you take in the morning and positively impacts your sleep that night. Like there's just nothing out there. There are things you can do. If you exercise in the morning, you will positively impact your sleep that night. If you actually wake up and get exposure to the sun, you will actually get your circadian rhythm in line with everything, with the actual rising and falling of the sun, and that can positively impact your sleep. It's actually the opposite of a lot of what's on the market as sleep aids. And these are usually prescription medications, and you take them right before you go to sleep. And there's actually a book called Why We Sleep by Dr. Matthew Walker. Absolutely amazing book. Also a terrifying book about sleep as it relates to what happens to you when you don't get sleep. And he points out about the $2 billion sleep aid industry, which is really, you take it right before you go to sleep. it knocks you unconscious. It relieves a chemical in your body so that when you wake up, you don't desire sleep, which obviously feels really refreshing, right? If you're really intently desiring sleep, you take this medication and it puts you in a state in the next day where you're no longer desiring sleep. You're like, oh, I slept well. But the reality is it's knocked you unconscious. It's like no one would say, hit me with a hammer and I'll be unconscious for 8 hours and wake up and say I had a good night's sleep, right? That's not how it works. There are really important sleep phases of sleep. We're all aware of rapid eye movement sleep, right? REM sleep. There's also NREM sleep. And there's different phases that happen, and I learned this all from the book, Why We Sleep, that happen throughout a restful night's sleep that don't happen with these sleep aids. That's unlike our product. Again, take it in the morning, report mental focus and energy during the day. Who doesn't need that? And then better sleep that night.
Right. And you've said take it in the morning. And the reason for that, and I've tested this out too, is it's not like a caffeine energy, but it gives you a little stimulation during the day, doesn't it?
It does. In fact, some people will ask, hey, how long will it take for me to notice some results? And it can be pretty broad. I start with these, I kind of share these two examples. We've got one influencer who was clearly like a coffee aficionado who reported in her first video on the first day of taking the product that she didn't finish her cup of coffee, right? If you're a coffee drinker, you know, that can be a big deal where if you're just like, okay, I'm done. So I actually drink coffee for flavor and maybe process. I don't really need it for energy anymore. But if you're a coffee drinker and you're like, hey, I put my cup of coffee down half empty or half full and I never went back to it, well, that's same day effect. And then we've got other testimonials, which are farther out. In fact, one of our big distributors would have told you, I did a video with her and she would have told you, hey, at 3 months, I might've shared that I didn't notice anything, but I stopped for a second and I thought about my life. And I was like, well, I'm staying up later and actually getting more work done. I'm waking up earlier and I never used to be a morning person. And then I do like to share this, but it is arguably the worst possible testimonial for a supplement. She cleaned her garage. Now, if you think about your garage or that looming task around the house, there's really two things. One, it can, there can be a lot of emotions associated with like clearing things out or whatever. And the other is just having the energy. Do you have the energy to tackle that project? And really what she was saying is not only was she working later, not only was she getting up earlier, she also had the energy to take care of that task. And so those are the kind of the two spectrums. And you're right. We do have a small number of customers who report if they take it too late in the day, it'll keep them up. We have also heard, and I can share from my own experience, those nights where I don't get as much sleep, right? You really want to shoot for, 7.5 to 9 hours of what's called sleep opportunity. Those days where I don't get that much, I still wake up refreshed. And we've got that reports. I had a business coach at one point, like his testimonial was, for 50 years, I needed an alarm clock to wake up. Once I got on the C60 Evo formula, I was waking up without an alarm clock. And he actually, interesting case, got off of the product, had to go back to the alarm clock, got back on the product and no longer needed the alarm clock. So it's having a positive impact. And it's such a positive impact on sleep that we're actually doing a sleep study. Anybody who's watching, I've got a ring on my index finger. It's an Oura ring, O-U-R-A. And it's one of the better sleep trackers on the market. And we're actually investing in a sleep study with a professor out of the University of California, San Diego, who is a consultant for Oura Ring. So we're working on actually doing research on our supplements, which I do think is not typical of a supplement company.
Right. Oh, that's fantastic. One thing you reminded me of when you were talking about sleep, and this is kind of like the garage, where I don't think you're going to promote this as a benefit, but I have heard some people talk about this and even experienced it, tested it out myself, let's say, with actually mitigating the effects of alcohol. So maybe if you've had a couple too many drinks, you can if you're taking the C60, you don't wake up feeling as bad.
Oh, you too?
Yes.
That is, we do get that testimonial on a regular basis, and one of them is from me. Yeah, when you imbibe a little too much, we certainly drink responsibly, and if it gets a little beyond what you had intended, I'll typically take a serving, which is about 5 mils, kind of before, if I know it's going to be a long night. Sometimes I'll take one in the middle and then take one at the end of the day, and it can also help in the next day. So I know that you end up taking potentially lots of servings, but to get rid of the pain associated with a hangover, it's worth it.
Yeah, is that antioxidant quality helping at the cellular level?
So I think, so yes, the one in the morning that's helping, right, has to be that, right? The ones that you're taking anytime during duration, I think what it really does is has the ability to metabolize alcohol fast, right? So it enhances your ability for metabolizing the alcohol. So you're actually flushing it out of your system. And anything that you're taking before you sleep, part of the problem is that alcohol interrupts your sleep. And so you're waking up, although, maybe you were unconscious, we'll say for 8 to 10 hours, you still wake up and you're tired or whatever, because it's really bad sleep. It's not the quality sleep that you need. And again, if it's helping you get that quality sleep, then you're waking up in a much better situation, right? In my case, it's really kind of no headaches and no stomach upset. Sometimes, if it's been a really long night, I'm still a little tired, like I'm still a little lethargic, but I'm not falling asleep, and no headache, no stomach ache. So it's pretty impressive.
Yeah. Well, I had to get that in there because that is a real deal.
Yeah.
Now you've mentioned a couple times about olive oil, and so talk about that. So you can't just take the C60 as is. It has to kind of be in some sort of other medium. Is that right? So do you mix it with olive oil or coconut oil? Tell people how that works and what to expect if they get a bottle of this. What is it they're actually taking?
Okay, absolutely. So you're 100% right. Again, going back to this molecule, this spherical molecule that looks like a soccer ball, when you're holding that material in your hand is just a black powder, right? And it's actually a black crystalline powder. You could just consume that, right? You could stick it in your mouth, swallow it. The problem is it's not very bioavailable because of the surface area. When you mix it into different oils, you actually break apart those crystals, just like anytime you're putting something in a solution, right? You can imagine crystals of sugar or salt in your hand, you put it in water, and those get down to the monomolecular level. Same thing with the ESS60 in each of our oils. And we have an olive oil, an MCT oil, and an avocado oil. There's 2 reasons that we recommend you do olive oil instead of the MCT or avocado. The first reason is we're a science-based organization, and the research is on olive oil. And so anytime you can stay closer to the research, it makes a lot more sense. The other reason is in terms of concentration, how much of the ESS60 that we can get into the different oils. We can get about 0.8 milligrams per milliliter in the olive oil, about 0.6 milligrams per milliliter in the avocado oil, and then about 0.3 in the MCT oil. So you get less than half in the MCT oil. I know people, in fact, there's one particular guy at a store we're in who's allergic to both olive oil and MCT oil. So he's taking the avocado oil. Like, that just makes sense. You're not going to take something that you're allergic to. Again, if you can take the olive oil, you really should take that olive oil. It's the better, higher concentration and the better quality product that has the research behind it.
Yeah, great. Well, when I first started with you guys and ordered my first bottle, I didn't know all that. And I ordered the coconut oil, the MCT oil, just because I tend to take some of that anyway on a daily basis. I think it's shown some research that it can fight Alzheimer's and good for your brain and so forth. So I started with that, but I didn't know those stats that you just laid out. And then I have switched over to the olive oil, and it's good. It's if you like dipping your bread in olive oil, it's the same thing. It tastes good, and so that's what I'm taking now. But I didn't know all the reasons behind it, so that's great to know. And so you're probably getting a little bit higher efficiency and effectiveness with the olive oil. Then is that right?
Yeah, that's probably, again, 0.8, 0.6, and then 0.3 on the MCT. That MCT is a beautiful purple color, right? Like it's really just a stunning purple color. The thing with the, whatever the power in this purple is, it's less than a half than our, premium product, the olive oil product. So you want to be careful about that. And to kind of piggyback off of what you're saying, I still take our MCT product, my typical routine, and it's very important to get this product into your daily routine. Because I can tell you, we really started in 2018, kind of launching this in saying, hey, we're going to go. Well, let me talk about that a little bit. So in 2012, when they published the results, by about 2013, we were getting a lot of calls from customers, about 2 to 3 calls a week saying, hey, like, what do I do with this? How does it work? And we really tried not to get into the supplement industry. We were selling carbon nanomaterials to research institutions around the world, the most demanding research institutions you can think of. MIT, IBM's lab, like all of these amazing research institutions, we were selling to them. And the thought of going into the supplement market really bothered us, right? Because when we sell something to a research institution, they take that something we sold them, they give it to a lab assistant or a graduate student, and they go in the lab and they confirm that we sent to them what we sold them, right? It's a very demanding industry. If you think about the supplement industry, we're sending to people, I don't know about you, Noah, at my home, I don't have an HPLC, a high performance liquid chromatography. I'm assuming, yeah, you don't either, right?
Nope.
No one does that at their home. So you're selling into this industry, into these, the consumers who can't confirm what they have. And we actually did a survey. We purchased 22 of the brands that were out there on the market. And I describe it as woefully low in concentration, because there's no way the consumers can test it. So it's kind of these reasons. And I actually found a peer-reviewed published paper that said 50% of the general supplements, not the C60 supplements, it turns out worse than C60, but 50% of the supplements on the market don't have in them what they say they have in them. So it was really from mid 2013 to the beginning of 2018, we decided we weren't really interested in getting into the supplement market. In fact, I kind of think that people get into the supplement market one of 2 ways. So one of those ways is they wake up, they decide they're going to be wealthy, and they decide that they're going to do it with supplements. And I have no problem with people being wealthy. It's just not how I ended up in the supplement business. The other, and this one I have a lot more respect for, is people have maybe their own health problems or health problems of a loved one. They go out, they do the research, they try all sorts of things, and they come up with a solution, and now they want to save the world. Hopefully it doesn't surprise you. I am not against people saving the world. It's just not how I ended up here. I've been making this carbon molecule since 1991. They do this crazy quote unquote toxicity study, published it in 2012. We tried not to get into the industry until late 2017. My business partner started kind of growing the market. We started getting phone calls, 10 phone calls a day saying, hey, what are we going to, how much of this should I consume? It's doing all these amazing things for me. And so we finally asked ourselves 2 questions. And the first question is a moral question. Am I comfortable selling this cutting edge material to you? I take it, my wife takes it, everybody on our team takes it. So yes, I'm comfortable. And then next is the legal aspect, right? The FDA and the FTC, are we doing the right thing by them? Yeah, we got to cross all the T's, you got to dot all the I's, but yes. And that's when we really launched in 2018 and really started kind of promoting this as a retail product.
Yeah, well, that history that you talked about when you compared your product to 22 of the other ones that are out there, and you found that they had a lot lower levels. That was when I looked around. I heard about C60. I knew I wanted to get some. I had no idea where to buy it, and I did my own research, and that's how I found your company. I found a lot of companies, but when I found yours, and I saw that yours was the purest and most effective, and that you were actually supplying some of these big research institutions. That's what made me, before you and I had ever talked, or before I really knew anything else about your company, when I saw that, that's when I said, well, this is the one I want to take for myself. So that was a big deal for me. So I'm glad you covered that, because anytime you're putting something into your body or taking a spoonful of something, you want to know that it's safe, and you want to know that it's effective. And so that's what I was most impressed with your company.
Well, let me talk about, I'll add two things to that. One of them is our parent company is the company that supplied the C60, in that case, it wasn't ESS 60 yet, to the research institution in Paris that actually did the original study where the rats. So the rats live 90% longer on our product. Period.
Oh, wow.
The parent company is actually mentioned in that peer-reviewed published research. So it's us. We're the foundation of this industry. And then you talk about being safe. Our products are available on Amazon. That's a convenience to our customer. But I want to warn your audience is, what does a 5-star rating on Amazon about a supplement mean, right? Because some people are like, oh, I'm just going to go find something, and as long as it's highly rated. And I give this example. A 5-star rating on Amazon can be great. Like if you're going to buy a cell phone or some a headset or some earbuds, like that can be a great source to, like, these people have listened to the product or they've used the cell phone, so they have a sense of how good it is. What does a 5-star rating about a supplement, let's just take vitamin C as an example, even mean, right? And I kind of joke, it means they didn't die before they gave the review. Because right. Think about what it is. Like, did they even count the tablets? Probably not, right? If the bottle wasn't empty or half empty, they're not going to give a bad review because it probably had 90 tablets. They didn't even count the most easy thing you could do. Did they weigh the tablets? So yes, it's a gram of vitamin C. No, they didn't do it, or at least they didn't. Well, no, they didn't do it. And they certainly didn't do it on a scientific scale that would actually be accurate. And then the last is, did they take it and put it in an HPLC and confirm that it was ascorbic acid? And the answer is no. So you really got to be careful about what a 5-star rating on Amazon means as it relates to supplements. You got to do the legwork like you did and find that company that really has the integrity you're looking for, the scientific research background that you're looking for, and then buy with confidence at that point.
Oh, that's great. So, and I'm about ready to wrap this up, and I thank you so much for your time for coming on. We are always appreciative of anybody that comes on the show and takes their time. You know, we happen to be recording this on a weekend, and you're talking with me and taking time out of your day to talk with me on a weekend. So I appreciate that so much, and especially when you're doing it to help people with their health and their immune systems. But
absolutely.
One more question before we kind of bring this to a close. You've said a couple times it's not just C60, it's ESS 60, and I don't know that I've caught the difference. Walk me through one more time why that's so important.
Absolutely, and it's very important, and it has to do with the preparation of the molecule. So the simplest way to think about it is C60 is for industrial applications, and there is peer-reviewed published research that shows if you improperly process C60, it is harmful. ESS 60 is C60 that's been processed for safer human consumption, right? So that's why you want to look for ESS 60 when you're going to consume something. And that goes back to like, hey, if you're going to, I can give you a great example. At one point we had, and this happens every now and then, we had somebody submit a trouble ticket to us, and they're like, hey, I'm taking this product, which wasn't ours, and I'm thinking about taking this product, which was also not ours. What do you think? And so my first response was, well, the first one, the one that you're taking now, we used to sell C60 to them. And when we realized, this is very early on, so back maybe even latter part of 2017, when we realized what we were selling to them, they were putting in a product for humans to consume, we called them and told them, you are buying the wrong product. You are buying industrial grade C60, and you need to buy something that has been processed for safer human consumption. And they never placed another order with us, but they're still on the market.
Wow.
Right? That makes me really nervous. So I shared this with the person who submitted the ticket. And then I also said, and if you trust our opinion about this other company, which by the way had its own problems that I didn't get into, you probably should just buy from us, right? Like if you're bothering to ask us our opinion and you're about to put this in your body, right, your temple, then you probably should just buy from us.
No, that's good. Okay, well, that makes a lot of sense.
And I'm wondering if it might sense we could kind of go through all the products, what we have available. Does that make sense?
Oh, that's really good. Yeah, I see a few on the screen behind you, but yeah, tell us everything that people might see if they go to your store.
Absolutely. So we've got the olive oil product. So that's good. It comes in different sizes. The bigger the size, there's a little bit of a discount. And let me just tell you this up front, right? The product's not inexpensive. So we've made ways to help save money. If you go on subscription, you save 20%. Even if you're just interested in trying the product, go on subscription, save that 20%. Our team is not trained to talk you out of it. We have hundreds of 5-star reviews on Google. We're not, take advantage of that discount. So we've got the olive oil. Next in line, we've got the avocado oil. Remember, that's about 0.6 milligrams per milliliter. And then we've got the MCT oil. And just real quick about my routine, I actually do like a bulletproof coffee. I don't know, Noah, if you're familiar with bulletproof coffee.
Yeah, I am.
Yeah, so there's bulletproof coffee. You put some ghee, which is purified butter, and you put some MCT. I actually use our MCT. While that's blending, right? Because you got to blend bulletproof coffee to get it all together because it's kind of oils and waters. They don't really mix. At that point, I usually take about 1.5 teaspoons of our olive oil product, and then I'll use some avocado product on my salad kind of towards the end of the day. So yeah, that's our MCT. We do have a dog version. It's got bacon flavor. We've actually had humans ask if they could take the bacon flavor. They can. We also have a cat version. It's got a salmon essence. Just a note, I think this is always fun. It's kind of like Apple versus Android. You got cat versus dog. We sell a lot more dog than we do cat. So people want their dogs to live longer. They don't seem to want their cats. So if you're a cat lover, you need to show up for your pets. We also have a facial serum. This product has gotten, I'll be honest, my business partner, Patty, really pushed this product and we developed it in the lab and everything. I wasn't a facial serum guy and now I am. And so I didn't know how well it was going to do. The reviews on this are just absolutely amazing. And it's caused us to create what's called an inside out pack, right? Where you've got the consumable version and the version that I use this on the back of my hands and then on my face.
And I've tried that. It's got a little rosemary scent to it.
And rosemary is really good. It's intended to be used as kind of a night serum. Rosemary is actually very relaxing and also helps you sleep. So you've got that. And then we've got packs. We've got a lip balm. We've got a mint and an unscented lip balm. And then we also have, some people don't like taking the olive oil, the 5 milliliters or 1 teaspoon of olive oil as an oil. So we do have gel caps. You do need to take 6 of these in order to get a full serving, but we have gel caps for people who don't like the taste. The gel caps are also good if you're traveling, right? Because you've got to worry about the 4 ounce or whatever the right, TSA amount that you're able to take. And again, when you order the bundles, you save a little bit. When you order on subscription, you save a little bit. And then you have a code, right? I don't remember it off the top of my head.
Yeah, we do, that you guys were kind enough to set up for us. And like you said, this isn't the cheapest stuff in the world, but if you're not going to invest in your health, I don't really know where you're choosing to spend your money. So at least for me, especially right now, if I can make my immune system stronger, it's worth it. But 2 things you can do: you can sign up for that subscription, and if you don't like it after a month, cancel, and you've only paid for one bottle. So I think that's a great piece of advice. And then your company was kind enough to set up a code for anybody that sees this video or reads anything that I publish online. You can use the code EVNOAH. So that's EVNOAH. We'll put this all below the video too. And that's going to get you 10% off anything you buy. And then I'll also put a link down there too, that if you just click the link, that should apply the 10% as well. So all that'll be below the video. And it really, just my opinion, but I've been taking it for over a year and I like it. So I can't speak to the science. I can just speak to my experience, and it's something that I'm happy I'm taking every day.
Yeah, no, and we continue to get, I think we've got about 42% of our customers have been on subscription for 22 months.
Wow. Okay. Yeah,
Right.
that's pretty good.
Yeah, we regularly have people like and remember I talked about sometimes it's a little subtle. We regularly have people like, I didn't really notice anything until I got off. And then I was like, oh, the brain fog came back, all sorts of other things came back. The sleep, I realized the sleep wasn't as good. They get back on the product and it fixes all those things again.
Well, I said we weren't going to make this a political talk, but this is the Daily Truth Report. So I am going to say that sometimes you don't notice just how good things are until they're gone. And I think a lot of people right now are realizing that number 45 wasn't so bad. And in fact, we might like to have him back now that we've seen the alternatives. So I'm not going to make you comment on that, Chris, but that's going to be my
I'd like to. I think if they're not having that realization, there's a little bit of head in the sand going on.
There you go. Well, that's the perfect way to wrap this up. Link is below. It'll take you right to the store if you want to see these products. Promo code EVNOAH is going to get you 10% off. Chris, thanks for taking your time on a weekend to talk with us. We'll have you back on to talk again. I thought this was really good and answered a lot of questions. So I hope people enjoy it. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you, Noah.